Darius stalked through the night, the moonlight casting eerie shadows on the deserted streets. He had been a killer for years, mastering the art of death with each new victim. He thrived on the fear in their eyes, the way their breath hitched in their throats as they realized their fate. Tonight he had chosen his next target, a solitary figure who had been walking the same path every night at the same time. It was almost too easy. He followed the figure through the maze of alleyways, his steps silent, his knife gleaming under the pale light. The figure didn't seem to notice him, didn't even quicken its pace as Darius closed in. There was something unusual about this one, though. No one walked these streets alone at night. No one except Darius and his victims. Finally, the figure stopped in a dead-end alley, facing a brick wall. Darius grinned. The trap had sprung. He approached slowly, savoring the moment. But as he neared, the figure turned around, and Darius froze. The face that stared back at him wasn't human. It was a twisted mockery of a human face, with eyes that burned like fire and a smile that stretched impossibly wide. The skin was ashen, almost translucent, and there was an unnatural stillness about the creature that made Darius's blood run cold. He hesitated, his instincts screaming at him to flee, but his pride held him in place. He had faced down every fear and every challenge. This was just another kill. But as he stepped closer, the creature spoke, its voice echoing in his mind rather than through the air. "You've come for me, Darius," it whispered, its voice dripping with malice. "But you are not the hunter tonight." Before Darius could react, the world around him twisted, the walls of the alley distorting into grotesque shapes. He was no longer in the city. He was in a nightmare. The alley had become a dark, endless void, and in that void, shadows began to take form. They were people. No, more like specters, every one of them someone he had killed. Their hollow eyes stared at him, accusing, their mouths moving silently as they reached for him with skeletal hands. Panic surged through Darius. He turned to flee, but the void offered no escape. The shadows closed in, their touch cold and suffocating. The creature, his intended victim, watched with that same horrible smile, its eyes glowing brighter as the shadows overtook him. Darius fought, swinging his knife wildly, but it was no use. The shadows weren't corporeal. They were memories, guilt, and fear given form. Each touch drained him, sapped his strength, and filled his mind with the terror of his victims. And then the creature was upon him. It didn't need to move, didn't need to strike. It simply was, and its presence was enough to crush Darius's soul. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was his own reflection in those burning eyes, broken, terrified, and finally, helpless. When the police found Darius's body the next day, it was curled in a fetal position, eyes wide open, mouth frozen in a silent scream. There was no sign of a struggle, no cause of death. It was as if the life had simply been drained from him. But in the alley where he died, the air was thick with a chilling presence. And if you listened closely, you could still hear the faint echo of a voice. You were never the hunter, you were always the prey.